Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota, and if I don't get more mic time today, I'm crafting a cryptic tweet.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings, trying to trade away Mike Florio from Vikings fandom at the deadline.
This is Arif with the Wide Left Substack. My gambling picks have a better completion rate than Anthony Richardson, so that's something.
Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. Unwavering faith, ultimate belief. That's all we got on today's episode.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Arif Hasan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talks Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
What's happening? A brand new week on the Minnesota Football Party on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Welcome in. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen or your first view of the week. For your second one, check out Locked On Vikings with Luke Braun, where he's got great daily Vikings content, and you can get our audio on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts. Vikings had a bye. What a week to watch football without the Minnesota Vikings on TV. The best red zone day I've seen in a while. We'll, of course, touch on week 8. But Christian Darrisaw is out for the year. We'll talk about the ripple effects and the ramifications. Jordan Addison gets cryptic. And the early Anthony Richardson and Indy scout. Will it be Richardson or will it be Joe Flacco? We'll dive into all of it on today's show. We do this live every Monday and Thursday. It's close to an hour of Vikings talk with this crew. The show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. We're going to have to start with the negative news that dropped on Friday. Christian Darrisaw out for the year, torn ACL and MCL. Believe that's what happened to TJ Hawkinson as well. Ripple effects, ramifications, tremors. Let's dive into how the Vikings can survive without Christian Darrisaw moving forward. Now, Braun, you weren't on the postcast. You were at the game. You joined us. I'm sorry. You were on the postcast for 5 minutes. You had a great rant.
Moment.
And then your signal.
Yeah, I joined from the
Great
car.
minute. It was a great minute.
And service was very spotty. In the 5 minutes that I could get service, I ranted really hard about the face mask. No call.
Yeah. Didn't get your rant on the Christian Darrisaw injury, so let's get it now. Whether you're mad at Kevin O'Connell for that play call.
Rant, yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Why would you be mad at Kevin O'Connell for running the ball with 30 seconds left in the half? It's like the most normal thing you can do.
3 timeouts. Rip one off.
I'm not ripping him for that.
That's the standard practice there. What everybody does in situations like that, where you call it where you maybe have enough time to try to get a field goal, is to run a quick one, see how it goes. If you get 3 yards, you probably just go to half and you say, okay, that's fine. Or if it busts for 10, 12 yards, then you go, oh, okay, cool, let's take a timeout. Let's try to get something to happen.
It's 55 yards. It's not 97 yards. You need 55
Yeah, you're just trying.
yards.
You're trying to get. They established after the Lions game that Will Reichard's range in a dome is at the 50. They would have tried it.
Yeah, I also.
It's just bad luck. It was duo. If you can't run, if you think duo is too risky of a play call, you're not made for this. Watch
right? Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Like if it was a play that uniquely put Christian Darrisaw at risk somehow, and it occurred at a really low leverage moment of the game, i.e., you're pretty unlikely to score, then maybe even then I have a lot of difficulty with that. It is just unlucky. Also, just real quick. The chat is talking a lot about who can eat the most Uncrustables. I am the only one with an Uncrustable.
Whoa.
Wow.
Right. Like, it is crazy that my name didn't come up in that conversation.
Wow.
Anyway,
Do you
Arif can
store
definitely
them?
out eat me in Uncrustables.
You
I
store
feel
them in
very
the
Not
fridge?
not a question.
Arif, or do you eat them like refrigerated, or do you let kind of outside the fridge, room temperature? How do you roll?
Well, this one is gonna be for when we hit our halftime, so I've got something to eat. So this is gonna be closer to room temperature. But no, typically what I do is you're supposed to store them in the freezer. The day before I eat them, I throw a bunch into the fridge to thaw, and then I toast them because it's bread. Of course, it's better toasted. And the peanut butter gets just liquidy enough, right? Like that's ideal.
Get that goot. Yep.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. So the last two shows I've posited that the correct move in response is Blake Brandel to left tackle and Dalton Reisner to left guard at the expense of David Quessenberry, who remains your swing tackle. Luke Inman, how does that strike you?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think you called that out on the postcast actually just 10, 15 minutes after the game. And yeah, on paper, I think that makes sense. I think that would be your best five, not knowing what, a rookie like Walter Rouse brings to the table. We already saw the sample size of Quessenberry. But, whatever it is, the thing I keep going back to or keep thinking about is the big ripple effect here. Every time you have Darrisaw out there on any drop back, the big luxury is throwing that dude out on an island. You just know you're going to have an advantage in the one-on-one.
Yes.
That, in turn, obviously, you got 5 linemen. You got an extra body now to soak up extra defenders, whether that's Brandel helping Bradbury in a double team, whatever the case may be. Now you don't have that luxury anymore. I think it was 2 years ago. Was it the Dallas blowout game Blake Brandel started? We lost at home like 37-3. That was the first game because Brandel came in the Buffalo game, looked fine, but when you saw him start just from top to bottom, start to finish, you could tell you got to have a tight end come out and chip, running backs come out and chip, whatever it may be. You got to have your left guard pay extra attention to who's ever over there. That in turn is just something they really haven't worked on or experienced this year because you have Darrisaw, such a rock, and obviously he's been so dominant. So you got a little mini bye, I guess, luckily, but back to the drawing board and shuffling, mixing, finding the best five first and foremost, but then the in-game adjustments to the weekly game plans, helping whoever that left tackle is going to be. That's going to be a big thing.
Parsons had 9 pressures in 30 pass rush snaps in that game.
Remember that?
I'd look it up.
Great pull. Yeah.
One out of 3.
Great memory. Yeah. Good memory.
Arif or Braun, either of you care to disagree on that shuffle on the offensive line?
No, they should
it's either that or
Tron
Quessenberry,
Armstead.
right? Those are pretty much the only two remotely reasonable options.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Kevin Seifert mentioned that they're like, oh, by the way, they drafted Walter Rouse, but I think he's just doing that to be thorough in his piece. I don't think that that's a real option.
No, I think if it was, they would probably prefer him over David Quessenberry as the backup.
Right, yeah. But yeah, no, I think, I've always been of the opinion that Blake Brandel, I'm not going to say wasted, because now he's playing well, so I've had to change that part of the opinion, but has been more ideal actually as a tackle candidate than as a guard candidate. The Vikings seemingly have employed a best 5 approach with that anyway, so I think that's why he was on the field. But I think that he's a good tackle relative to kind of what your expectations are for a backup and now a starting guard. So yeah, I think that makes the most sense. I think that gives you the best kind of 5. But yeah, like Inman said, you're losing a significant advantage you have when you've got the ability to widen edge rushers by putting Darrisaw on an island and separating him, essentially detaching him from the offensive line. I know that the way half slides work is that it's supposed to be done by count, by like how you set the mic and stuff like that.
Like based on the front, but you can force the issue if you want.
Yeah, and I think the Vikings have done that a little bit, where they've slid 4 when sometimes you would normally slide 3 or whatever, because they trust Darrisaw to handle that kind of stuff, and him widening those things has actually made it a little bit easier for the running back to kind of identify who their assignment is and pass. There's like a bunch of ripple effects here, in addition to what Inman mentioned about the tight end chipping or the running back chipping and stuff like that. You don't need to do that on the left side of the line. Now you might have to, especially given who
you might have to do a lot of things.
Yep. Yeah.
C in the chat mentioned like O'Connell can have faster developing plays now. I think one of the reasons the offense has been so high flying is kind of because they've done this like 7-step drops all the time and these 5-step drops and these longer developing things, and it's worked out really well. Darnold's been really good at it, and the line has held up as well as you can expect under that burden, but without the ability to essentially
literally
put
the
everybody
longest
in a slide.
time in pocket of any NFL team.
Yeah,
I
like
was just gonna look that up. Really,
you basically always have somebody like Garrett Bradbury in a double team. Like he's very rarely gets to be one-on-one. And I don't know if you can do that anymore. You need to have him one-on-one now sometimes, unless you want to go put Blake Brandel on an island as the backup left tackle or whoever it is.
Right. I mean,
and
we saw
Ed
that in the
Ingram on an
second
island,
half.
Reisner on an island. So if you have, if you don't feel like you can trust that anymore, you might have to like dial back on the shot plays and the aggressiveness a little bit, and we might see a slightly different shape of the offense, which is a bummer because it was like really explosive.
Yeah, I think we'll see that in the second, or we saw that in the second half of the Rams game. I don't have like the timing splits down, but it very much felt like the Vikings attempted to operate a faster offense. Certainly, I made some live bets for the second half with the understanding that the Vikings would shorten their ADOT, and those live bets worked out. That doesn't mean they eliminated these shot plays. I remember the deep shot to Aaron Jones, of all people, that worked out really well. But for the most part, they seemingly...
I think that was more Sam than O'Connell.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah. Your first read is not the wheel running back, right? Like that's
I think that's like check it.
Yeah, but I really thought that was Jalen Naylor too. I was a little upset because I had a little bit going on Naylor, but yeah, I mean, it very much seemed like the Vikings were like, okay, we don't have Darrisaw, so we got to call these faster plays. The drop back shortened up, and I think that's just going to be the way that offense is designed, which is a shame. Like I mentioned, so I think depending on whose metric you use, whether that is like PFF's or ESPN's or whatever, Sam Darnold in terms of time to throw is like top 5 in the NFL according to Amazon, top 2. But if you only look at time in pocket, then they're number 1 by a somewhat significant
on PFF.
distance.
Purdy is just slightly ahead. Purdy's 1 and Darnold's 2.
And
I
Purdy
think I saw-
scrambles more out of the pocket. So
Yeah.
the way that this stat was constructed by Sam Schwartzstein, the analytics guy over at Amazon, was to suggest that the offense is designed in a way, right? Because scrambles are not designed, right? So the offense is designed in a way to hold on to the ball, and I mean we've heard O'Connell describe it that way. We've heard Cousins describe it that way. We've heard Darnold describe it. Like we know that that's the case, right? But to see it kind of quantified in a way that is unique among NFL offenses in terms of the way that they handle timing and deep shots and stuff like that, I think is really significant, especially when we talk about a Darrisaw injury and how to handle that and how the offense might have to change.
Inman, were you going to chime in?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think I saw a stat just a few days ago. Darnold's been sacked like 10% of his dropbacks as well, which is last in the league. And I'm assuming
That's
a lot of that gets put on
no
the
way.
long developing plays, Darnold holding onto the ball and things like that as well. So
Depending on the
two kind of
metric, more of it.
contrasting stats, one really good, one bad.
Oh,
but
like
both
pressure to
tell a
sack, not sack percentage total. Okay.
Yes, sorry, yep. Mhm.
Sack percentage, I believe, 4th worst in the league. I think
Fourth
there's
worst.
Right.
Okay.
That means
and one
way
of those
more
is like
sense.
Brissett. Like Brissett was worse.
Right.
Trying to remember who else, but yeah, it was not a good.
Watson,
it was
I
not
would
a,
assume.
Watson's number
not
one
good
with a
company
bullet.
to. Yeah. Oh, by the
Oh,
way,
well,
I
that's
can't
gonna
wait to
change.
brag- Can't wait to brag about my my Jameis Winston instinct in the gambling section of today's show, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Free 3, what does it mean? We'll tell you next on the Minnesota Football Party. Brought to you by, as Arif unpackages the uncrustables, LinkedIn Jobs.
Right on the mic.
You're hiring for your small business. All right, we're gonna Tony
Game
Reale mute you. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. They've got the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. It's not your ordinary job board. That's because over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. You're on LinkedIn. You might not be actively searching, but you still see the listing. It piques your interest, and boom, you're in the running for a new job. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Small businesses wear a lot of hats, might not have the unlimited time or resources to hire. They're always finding ways to make the process easier. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. We're also presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a blast. Last week on that Vikes game, I cashed the Johnny Munt less than. I got the Jahmyr Gibbs more than on yards. I had a 4-way entry, and it was so much fun to track during that Vikings-Lions game. And you, too, can get involved at Prize Picks. Just put together an entry with between 2 and 6 player stats. You can go cross-sport, and you've got a lot of sports. Today is a sports equinox right now. You've got baseball, hockey, basketball, and football all being played today. You can put together quite an entry on Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Game time.
Thought I muted you.
Yeah, I unmuted.
Not long enough.
Jordan,
Did you eat that
Addison-
entire Uncrustable over the course of that?
Is it gone?
No, I'm pacing myself. We're only 14 minutes into the show. Come on.
Jordan Addison goes on Instagram and posts free three. If Ron Johnson had Instagram in his Gophers days, I wonder if he would have done the free 3 thing. You know, big number 3 guy. He probably didn't need to be freed. Ron Johnson had a great target share. You know who also has a decent target share? It's Jordan Addison. Now, I dug into this to say, well, is he really being underutilized? So look at Jordan Addison's target share last year. 17.3% for the full season. Now look at the last 4 weeks of Jordan Addison since he returned from injury. So I'm tossing the first 3 games. Got injured in the first quarter of the first game. Last 4 weeks, 17.5% target share. Literally more than last year. So does Jordan Addison need to be freed further? Arif Hasan, what do you think?
No. Okay, so I don't actually think Luke Braun probably can explain this a little bit better, but I don't think he's actually suggesting anything of the sort, that he's resentful at all. But just to talk about his performance, he's like 4th in the NFL in separation score right now. That is a metric designed by Fantasy Points. I'm sure that there's a bunch of other tracking organizations that have different numbers, but regardless of kind of the organization that you choose, it's one of the highest in the NFL. It's not because, he's like the best receiver or the best at route running or whatever. Obviously, a lot of it has to do with the gravity that Justin Jefferson has, how he alters coverages, and the specific routes the Vikings are calling for Jordan Addison. But the Vikings are maximizing his usage by getting him like the most open in the NFL, and they're targeting him, like you said, at a pretty high rate. An 18% target share is pretty high for a secondary receiver. I mean, obviously he can't demand more targets than Justin Jefferson. And if he did, screw him, right? I don't know. Like, part of it's just like you got to respect it because that's how receivers act, and part of it's just like that's Justin Jefferson. But that's not what he's demanding, so I don't really care. He's doing well. His receiving totals are good. Whatever.
You think that he is, just like in the words of Michael Scott, you think that he is gruntled. You think that he's
extremely gruntled.
He happened to post free 3 for no reason.
Well, no. Hold on, Sam.
Yeah,
take your
that's
time,
his thing.
There's never no reason. The reason is because he's confident.
He's
but it's
highly satisfied after his 2-reception, 22-yard game.
No one's satisfied after a loss, Sam. That's different. But he's not dissatisfied with his place on the team.
Receiver diva role. Honestly,
wide receivers like to thump their chest on Instagram for kind of no reason. That's just what they do.
Yeah.
Okay, that's like hearing a bird sing. Okay, it's just what they do.
So after he had a big game against,
but he's not expressing. But he's not expressing
3-3?
dissatisfaction. He's not expressing dissatisfaction with the way the team is using him, the offensive play calling, Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
He has a necklace that says free 3 on it. It's
Yeah, the chat's on it now.
Oh,
It's his
okay.
thing.
See,
it's a thing he just says all the
I was
time.
holding out hope. This whole thing, there was a story or bit about Reichert saying something about just get the ball past the 50 and it's a free 3 points, and that's why he tweeted free 3. But this
That would
is
be
his,
so good.
This is his like bit.
Yeah, no, he
He's
had
got the
a
necklace?
custom chain.
Okay, well,
If,
that,
look
that
up
explains it.
his draft.
That
fit.
wipes that out. Then.
It's got it says free 3. He's
yeah, chat's
says this
super
all
on
the
this, by
time.
the way. But we were talking about this before the show.
yeah.
Luke, you weren't there because you're never here before the show.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
but no, this is his thing. This is like a thing that he says and does. It's
Yeah,
not
like,
related to his concerns about the team or target share. It's like his motto.
Yeah, like I get it because free whoever has been a way for people to like ask out of the team. Like that is a very inconvenient motto, Jordan. I would love it if you picked a different one later. But
Well, he doesn't have
it's-
like extraordinary social awareness.
that is
So
very
this is
true.
just the lack of
So-
judgment. This is that's all you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
if there was
also,
like a
too-
pattern of lack of judgment from this guy, maybe we could say,
look, man, run fast.
but
But
specifically
I
run.
don't think that there's
run
any
fast.
issue. He also followed that up with a picture of him and Justin Jefferson, just like looking cool in uniform.
Chilling.
Tag Justin
How about
Jefferson in it.
Sam? You
He's
said
having a
what,
good time.
17% target share? How about don't be dead last in plays ran per game too? I mean, you
Yeah.
extrapolate that over. I mean, I think even if they were middle of the pack, that would put them around like 63 plays per game, which is like 7 or 8 more than they're running now. Just middle of the pack. So you extrapolate that over 7 weeks. Call it 50 plays, say half those are run plays, 25 more pass plays to be had. You get 17% of that. That's an extra target and a half every game. Maybe that extra target and a half a game is the difference between a quiet game like he had last week versus a big game. Who knows? And now he's not tweeting about it anymore.
Yeah, plays per drive last in the NFL. Some of those are quick scoring drives, but also
Yeah.
on the
Yeah, you
season,
can't
they've been-
blame them for
Chicken
scoring
and
on
the
a
egg there.
They've been
97-yard
outsnapped
drive.
by 68 snaps on the season and 22 in the Rams game alone. Only got 50, and even O'Connell
was-
pointed to that. He's like,
was
it's hard
tough.
to have a lot of offensive flow when you just don't have the ball.
Yeah,
Also get some stops.
So the plays per drive thing or whatever, the number of plays, I know a couple of people pointed this out. It's just like a really difficult criticism to work with because it's a proxy result. You can't do anything to quote unquote fix your plays per drive. You have to fix other elements of your offense or defense to improve the number of plays, which is to be better on third down, right? Like that's already an action item, right? Like so there's no
Right.
plays per drive action item. It's we
It's
should
a
be
whole
better on
ecosystem
third
that
down,
everybody's
and
gotta do their
we
part.
should,
Yeah.
the only answer is the offense should be better and the defense should be better. That's how you get more offensive plays. Okay, great. Now we've got a separate set of action items for a tertiary goal that kind of is secondary to what we want to do anyway. It's like time of possession. Fix that to me.
So is anyone, and I'm again saying I'm not, does anybody think that Jordan Addison does absolutely need more share in this offense? Like and again, Rams
Talk
game.
to Sam Darnold about it.
Yeah.
Okay. We can't have this conversation right before TJ Hawkinson shows up, right? Like, it
Yeah.
would be absurd for us to do that. You know who deserves what TJ Hawkinson does, and it's going to eat into everyone's target share, and it's going to improve the offense.
Right.
So,
And now you're
I
going
don't
to get
care.
more plays per drive, and now the
Right.
defense is going to be on the field. Like
Your
it's
time
the
of possession's
whole
gonna improve,
ecosystem,
yeah.
man. Yeah.
I
Arif,
feel like
let me ask Arif
anecdotally.
this.
No.
Go ahead.
I was real quick. I feel like anecdotally, just from watching tape the tape of all year for like the Sam Darnold videos that I've been making on my Patreon, it feels like all the times that Jordan Addison is like streaking wide open and is not targeted, those are all just Justin Jefferson plays. Like also Justin Jefferson is wide open and he does get targeted. It's like, well, okay, I guess we just kind of killed the whole secondary there. Everybody can get open, but only one person can get the ball.
And when he does take those deep shots, Darnold, all in all, top to bottom, been pretty good this year too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Arif, who were the other three in separation score above Jordan Addison? Just curious who we're dealing with here.
Oh,
Who is
okay.
the
I mean, it's all deep threats or Cooper Cup. So
Alec Pierce.
Small sample size.
Yeah. So AD Mitchell from the Colts, which that doesn't matter, right? He also only ran like 77 routes, so pretty small relative to everyone else. And Brandon Ayuk, 49ers, so he's out for the season, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And J-Mo, followed by Khalif Raymond. So
funny.
Addison is above Khalif Raymond, but like those are the top 5, and it's like, oh, those are all a bunch of deep threats. I feel like that is telling us something about the statistic.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. When we return, how to solve the defensive woes that have plagued the Vikings the last 2 weeks, and Anthony Richardson. I've got an excellent nerdy stat on the possible starter for the Colts, and I do say possible for next Sunday. That's coming
Is it
up
just
next
his
month.
completion percentage?
Whoa. How did you know? Next on the Minnesota Football Party. We are presented today by Game Time. Game Time Picks.
Game Time.
Which makes getting tickets so easy, whether it's sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. It filters out the fluff. Open up the app. You see the best seats, the best prices. Toggle on the all-in pricing so there's no hidden fees whatsoever. The curation makes it such an easy experience. Get a panoramic view from your seat before you buy. The lowest price guarantee with Game Time credits you 110% of the difference if you find better seats. And the Game Time ticket coverage is the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Get to Target Center. Get to XL Energy Center. There's still one more game at Huntington Bank Stadium this year. Lots of sports in town that you can check out at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Say it with me. What time is it?
What time is it?
Game time. I was holding in a cough that whole time. Got it out.
Live podcasting.
Start the clock. It's time to execute. The 4-minute drill.
I want us in 1 minute each to solve what's ailing the Vikings defense. You have only 1 minute, so you got to be precise. Luke Inman, you get to go first. Go ahead.
What are we doing? I haven't had my Uncrustable yet. Live show. I haven't had my Uncrustable yet.
4-minute drill. Fix the defense.
Fix the defense
in 1 minute.
Fix the defense. 1 minute. You got it. Done. I mean, hey, it always starts up front. You got to get after the quarterback. Like, the game doesn't change much week to week. If you can rattle the quarterback, you're going to put your secondary in a way better position, more consistency. Last week versus Stafford, 4 pressures versus Stafford, maybe 3 versus a rookie center, UDFA left guard, a backup left tackle. There's no world where you shouldn't be winning more consistently versus an offensive line like that. 2 weeks ago versus Goff, they got some pressure. 4 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, I think, but it could have been even more. There was a handful of plays they left on the table where they did 90% of the work and they didn't finish. The Grenard missed strip sack, for example, is the one I keep thinking about. That and the whole Dagger concept. Luke Braun maybe mentioned once or twice. But bottom line, dudes got to win their one-on-ones more consistently up front, and when they do, they got to finish. They got to bring him down and cause some sort of negative play, even if it's just a throwaway. And it's funny, too, I pulled up the pass rush win rate numbers. Grenard and Van Ginkel, both in the top 20 in the league in pass rush win rate for all edge rushers. Problem is Van Ginkel only has 13 wins because he doesn't rush the quarterback every play. There's a lot of big key third downs every game. He's dropping back into coverage. So outside of Grenard, which he's been great, don't get me wrong, who's the next guy that's going to win consistently? Pat Jones kind of falling back down to earth a little bit. I don't know if it's like NASCAR package, 4 defensive ends, Dallas Turner, Jihad Ward, Jones, Grenard, all those guys. But 2 guys isn't enough, especially when one of them doesn't actually rush the quarterback on some big money downs.
Luke Braun.
Right now, with Blake Cashman out, Josh Metellus has sort of taken over that job in a lot of places. Sometimes it's Common Grugier Hill, but a lot of it has been they go dime and they have Josh Metellus functionally play linebacker. I don't think you can do this anymore. He's very clearly out of position in that place. He's been late to some of his fits, but more so in coverage, he and Ivan Pace have this really bad habit of sort of sucking their way up to the check down and leaving big holes behind them. It's one of the big reasons that the middle of field open stuff has been so effective against them. It's not just that it's a scheme beater, it's that those linebackers need to drop deeper. They need to play a little bit more confidently that they can rally and tackle if it is a check down. So you can either mess with those drop back depths or use more Kamu Grugier-Hill or get Blake Cashman back.
And I think he's expected to be back, which is a good sign. Arif Hasan.
I think all of those make sense. I would also throw in a little bit more variety with the coverages. Obviously, the Vikings are running the coverage splits that best suit their personnel, right? They can't put their cornerbacks on an island, but there is a limit, I think, to that where you're sacrificing, full capacity for predictability. The Vikings, of course, are a middle of the field open team. They run it not just at the highest rate in the NFL, but the highest rate in the NFL with a bullet, and it's becoming a big weakness of theirs. I'm not saying that they need to suddenly become a cover 3 or a cover 1 team. They can't, they'd lose. But they just need to mix it in a little bit more often to make themselves a little bit less predictable. Take a couple of downs where you're just not going to be as effective on a down-by-down basis with this particular coverage to maximize the level of confusion, because the whole goal of the defense is to force offenses into a state of confusion where they hesitate, hold on to the ball, turn those pass rush wins from Van Ginkel and Grenard into pressures, into sacks, right? And so forcing quarterbacks to hesitate on the coverage that they're reading is just a key point of this defense. The defense is not about how good your coverage players are. The defense is about how that coverage plays out for the quarterback, and right now it's just getting a little bit too predictable, so they do have to change it up at least a little bit, knowing that they're going to be in suboptimal coverages. They got beaten in the flats by the Rams, fine. That's the game that they want to play. That's just going to happen from time to time, but they cannot be beaten over the middle like they were against the Lions and a little bit against the Packers. That's not an area where the defense should be beat, and I think changing up the coverages a little bit will help them there.
I think that getting Cashman back will actually have a really positive ripple effect because, and as cliche as it is, stopping the run is fairly important, especially when they haven't done it the last 2 weeks. We've seen what the ramifications have been. The ramifications have been your third down to go numbers have stunk. Other teams have had such an easy time, if they're even getting to third down, like the Rams and Lions, attacked
second and long conversion rate has to be disgusting.
And oh my gosh, yeah. And you wonder why Dallas Turner's not on the field. Like that's all he is right now.
That's actually
He's
a good
your
point.
Third down pass rushing mercenary.
Only someone had a video about that.
Check it out.
Patreon.com/Luke Braun NFL. Go check it out. Free to watch.
That's why Dallas Turner has 4 snaps and 3 snaps in 2 games, because you've got no advantageous third downs for your pass rush. So get Cashman, stop the run a little bit better, get actual pass rushers on the field on third down, and good things are going to happen. I think that's probably the most simplistic way to put it. Now, Indy comes in Sunday night, and they're probably going to take this court. Like, I assume that Wednesday, their coach Steichen will probably have to make a declaration to say, Anthony Richardson's our quarterback. We're sticking with Anthony. They're 4-4. They played 8 one-possession games.
Vote of confidence.
Here's my Anthony Richardson stat. He is 44.4% completion percentage. That's not the stat. The stat is over a 6-game span, any 6-game span during the course of a season, he is the first quarterback under 45% since who?
Brooks Bollinger.
Good guess.
Nathan Peterman never got 6 games, so unfortunately.
Ooh, that's a great guess. Peterman?
Yeah. Terrell Pryor, I don't think ever got 6 games when he was playing quarterback, so it can't be him. Let's go.
Yeah, how
let's
does
go
somebody play
Jamarcus.
that bad?
Assuming
I'm
this
not
is like a
benched.
former Viking or something. This
is like
I
a
want to go.
Ponder
I want to
stat.
go.
Freeman
Jamarcus.
we got in the chat.
Hey.
Josh Freeman,
Josh Freeman. Oh,
Josh Freeman was like pretty decent as a Buccaneer. Like we can't.
especially on Monday nights.
But the stretch that had him fall apart, I could see it being that. Oh, early Josh Allen, that would be a good one.
Oh, I like
guess. I like that guess.
The correct answer has not been uttered yet.
Tim
Okay,
Tebow.
Chat just said Tim Tebow. That one's great. Low completion percentage quarterback, low interception.
Okay, give us a
rate
clue.
quarterback.
Give us some sort
Give us
of
a
hint.
decade.
Started a bunch of
Give us a
games.
decade.
Well, I think I got to give Yahtzee his flowers. He got it.
That's
Wow.
Wow.
Good
Yeah.
job.
Wow.
Tim Tebow is
Tim
the answer.
Tebow.
2011, which was, I believe that was his stretch. That was the year
Yes,
when Tebow
that was the miracle
Tebowed.
year. Yeah.
And and it was
316
more than
game.
6 games. I think it was a 7-game stretch. Under 45% completion rate. So that's who the Vikings are facing on Sunday. Thoughts?
Maybe.
Early thoughts, Arif, on this Colts matchup.
I don't want the team to have the same attitude I have because that would be catastrophic. But my attitude is that this is an easy dub.
Oh no! Shut down the show! Shut down the show! Shut down the show!
We'll be back on Thursday.
No. If Joe Flacco plays, they have to take this seriously, which is unfortunate.
It's so true.
No, I mean, okay. So the risk with Anthony Richardson is that he's like the volatile quarterback. Like it used to be Jameis Winston, now it's Anthony Richardson, right? It's an incompletion, an interception, or a completion for like 50 yards. Those are your options.
His ADOT is obscene. It's number 1 in the league by a long ways. Crazy.
Yeah, it's.
If only
sorry.
do we have corners that can find the ball? If surely we can get those.
Don't worry about it. So
Gilmore LASIK or something. He was struggling.
but yeah, like the offensive line is
LASIK
not.
tweets about the refs.
That's so
Like
funny.
LASIK.com. That was so good.
Incredible. Yeah, like the Colts offensive line is not particularly. I mean, the Vikings have played a number of better offensive lines already, and aside from the Rams game, who's not even a better offensive line, it's a worse one. They've been able to get like pressure, and I think that's just going to be the key. Like they're probably not going to take Anthony Richardson down as easily as a lot of these other quarterbacks. He's an insanely difficult quarterback to bring down. But it turns out if you attempt to sack him and he escapes, he gets tired and takes a play off. So you don't have to worry about that. It's like a sack. So yeah, you just have to, make sure that when he takes those shot plays that they're not too damaging. He's just not a good quarterback right now. I actually do think that he'll continue to develop and become a better quarterback, but he's just not a good quarterback right now.
Yeah, he's so lost right now. It's got to be frustrating. I think we said this on the postcast. We talked about a quick little Colts preview. It's got to be frustrating as a Colts fan watching Joe Flacco come in. The point every week is to win these games. Clearly, Joe Flacco gives you the better chance to win these games. But you use a top 10 pick on a quarterback. You knew he needed time to develop. And the only way to get better, the only way this guy is ever going to turn into what some people hoped would be a Josh Allen kind of quarterback, he's just got to get the reps. So it's got to be frustrating for fans.
Yeah.
But he's completely lost. I don't know how much Texans-Colts you watched yesterday. First of all, they are a much better offense, a much better team when Jonathan Taylor's on the field, which, okay, not surprising. But I watched a decent chunk of that on Red Zone. Shane Steichen clearly told Richardson, you got to start pushing the field more vertically, even more than you have, because he must have had a third of his throws, especially the early scripted stuff, were just bombs, just down the field shots, trying to get those explosives. And it reminded me of the Shane Steichen Philly days when Jalen Hurts would just drop back and just throw up these deep balls to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. That year they lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But you could tell there was an early emphasis on just, we got to start stretching the field more. We got to put pressure on their defense vertically more. Use that. Yes, even more. Yes. Yes.
1/5 of his throws are over 20 yards. Right?
Did you watch
Jesus
the game?
Christ.
So yeah, so here's
See why
here's,
Flacco's the backup.
right. So yeah, that actually is a good point. So someone in chat mentioned that James Kunow says he's the Sleepy Joe of Cam Newton, which is a great sentence, by the way. But I was like texting a friend who had Anthony Richardson on his fantasy team, and he's like, I have no idea what's going on. How is this a quarterback? And I was like, okay, think about it this way. You're a 9-year-old and you just purchased Madden 16. Who do you play as? Cam Newton, obviously. That's what Anthony Richardson is, a 9-year-old on Madden playing Cam Newton. That's what that is.
Wow, that's pretty good. Or 09 Madden playing with Vince Young. Maybe that was 08 Madden. Yeah, either way. Yep.
Even if he were doing a better job at it, it would be a very good matchup for Brian Flores, because all Brian Flores wants to do is discourage explosives. And then what do you become? And what does Anthony Richardson become without the explosives? And even though Joe Flacco is a better veteran and knows how to beat the blitz and has more tools for that, he's still, I mean, he's always been the guy that lives on the Bamba, on the shot play, on the big, the big swing that changes the game. If the way that Flores wants to play to like force you to like execute in rhythm, I feel like matches up very well against that in a way that like I was very worried about that matchup the last 2 weeks.
3 stats. Richardson's 28th under pressure passer rating this year. He is second worst passer rating when forced to throw in less than 2.5 seconds. However, the counter argument, Colts have the best PFF pass blocking unit in the NFL. So that's what you got.
Yeah, Ryan Kelly's been pretty darn good.
To me, they're an okay offensive line. I think they're not better than Detroit's offensive line. They're not better than Philly's offensive line. They might have the best PFF grade in pass blocking, but I think, generally speaking, this is, I mean, I'm not going to say it's a vulnerable offensive line, but it's certainly an overcomable one, right? Like, that's not like that.
It ain't Detroit. Not even close.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. When we say it ain't Detroit, now that's a compliment to Detroit.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
This ain't Detroit.
If they don't get rid of the ball quickly, that makes that O-line's job a lot harder. And sometimes in ways that just being good at pass blocking isn't enough to overcome.
Yeah, also, by the way, Anthony Richardson is like 32nd, and that sounds bad. This is of 39. I mean, it is bad, but it's not as bad as dead last. 32nd in the NFL in completion rate on passes further than 20 yards downfield. Not entirely his fault. Some of these passes are like catastrophically dropped. I had a tweet yesterday where it was like Anthony Richardson has like 6 good plays a game, and 3 of them are just screwed up by his teammates. Like, you do need more than 6 good plays a game. Like, as a quarterback, your job is to have more than 6. But it is a little tragic and funny that half of his very few good plays per game are screwed up by his teammates. And a lot of them include, like, these drops.
Yeah,
worth noting.
This is the exact opposite matchup of facing a Matthew Stafford at quarterback, or even Jared Goff. Like those guys know how to pick apart NFL defenses. Granted, some of that with Goff is Ben Johnson, obviously, but pocket awareness, reading defenses, making checks, calls, all that stuff. You know, Richardson's gonna get his splash plays and chunk plays like he does, but I'm with Luke. Like Flores has just got to be salivating. Throw the kitchen sink at him, confuse him. He's gonna cough up at least a handful of just gift wrap turnovers or negative plays at least throughout the game as well. Opponent plays per game, Indy dead last. 68 plays per game Indy's given up to their opponent. That's an insane number. 68 games every week, consistently, week in and week out. That's a lot.
Worth noting that Indy almost found the craziest way to win that game against the Texans in Houston. They had a scoop and score to go ahead with, 3 minutes to go. But the guy got grazed when he was on the ground. No, same.
Dio.
Yeah.
Isn't Odeyingbo?
Odeyingbo is, yeah.
It's slightly
yeah,
different.
very close. But, yeah, they could have won that game yesterday, and they found a way to be in, they almost beat the Texans twice this year, lost by a combined 5 points. It's a weird matchup. This is a really weird one coming in on Sunday night, and we'll have a lot more about it on Thursday on that episode. Let's update the gambling picks for Week 8. Everybody goes 1-1. Now, remember, Luke Inman, you instituted your advantage, doubling your winnings or having your losses, and that also triggered the disadvantage for Luke Braun, doubling his losses, having his winnings. Now, unfortunately, there were no big swings because everybody went 1-1. Now, Luke Inman, biggest bets of the year for anybody. You put $350 down.
Wait a minute. That doesn't really say a lot with this group. Come on.
We're conservative.
Yeah, I've ruined the betting show by just taking minimums every week, and now the rest of you have kind of followed suit.
Ruin it, but, you know.
No, I ruined it.
That's what I did last year, too,
Wrap it
until
up.
I was so
Wrap
far
it up.
behind ahead.
Wrap it up. I got to pull these up here. What are we looking at?
So
I'm assuming
Inman
that
had
lasts now.
350 on Aaron Jones, total yardage 100.5, and he went for
19
95.
carries for 58 yards.
Yeah.
I mean,
Pretty rough.
You know,
Yeah,
I'm
they
not
iced
really
out
mad about
Chandler.
it.
They gave Jones a big workload. Didn't convert for you.
Hey, at the 3, trying to bust a 10-yarder right before half. That would have been it. That would have been it. Push me over the edge.
Broncos salvaged the weekend for you. They cover the 9.5. So your $180+ losses halved into a loss of 91, but you do fall into last place behind.
No,
Luke
wait a minute.
Braun.
Wait a minute. So isn't the Broncos a double win?
No,
Isn't
no,
that
no.
the
So
advantage?
Again,
So
this is
we
why you got
talked
to show
about
up
this
before the
when-
show.
you take
Email me.
No, okay. So what happens is Sam does the math first, and then applies the advantage or the disadvantage to the net. And not to the individual bets, which would have been nice because it's, I think, funnier that way. But to have it apply to the individual bets, but we didn't really hash this out, so I can't really complain too much.
We didn't. Can make a change for next year. If it makes you feel
Sure.
better. Like the equivalent of the face mask rule, maybe changing Thursday night.
That's the equivalent right there.
Yeah, and I'm just as mad.
Yep.
No, for sure.
Yeah, I'm steaming.
I can tell. I can tell. Still saved you $80 though, or $90. Saved you $91. And you are in last behind Luke Braun. We doubled his losses. So Luke, it works both ways because we could have. Actually, no, it only works against you. Sorry, never mind.
Not
Luke
good.
Braun
Not good.
loses
I'm
$14.
beginning to dislike this rule.
Not good. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go back and watch last year's episode when you used the advantage and make sure this is how it all went down. I'm not gonna.
You're not going to do that at all.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna. It's just a threat. Make them think about it.
Last year we just did one parlay, so it was only one bet. We didn't have this.
I'll check.
There was only
No,
one
I'll double
result.
check. Yeah.
Okay.
There's not anything to. Okay.
You
Go
can't.
ahead.
Okay. Yep.
Luke Braun hit Jefferson over and lost a last-second under again in Jets Pats.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
That one never felt good. It always, like, the whole way. It was. I think it was 20 at halftime, and I was like, this is too close. And then it was. I could just feel it. I could feel the collapse coming. Both of these teams are so terrible. Why did I decide to invest in a game that was Jets Patriots? Why did I decide that was the one that I have to pay attention to now? That was really the true punishment.
I'm glad.
I picked a Jets Pats last year under. That was like under 39.5, but I think it was like December, week 3 in December or something, like super cold and whatnot. But still, 41.5. I feel like
Seen
you just
enough
got
of the Jets,
unlucky
man.
in that one, honestly. I
It's-
feel like you've had
it's-
some bad beats this year.
Some just dreadful beats.
Arif 1-1. He's 9-7 overall.
My
one on
loss
Falcons.
was, by the way, the Tutu Atwell 40+ yards. I think he got like 30 something, but that drop in the end zone was brutal for me.
Ouch.
Right? Yeah. Like
Yep.
Isn't it funny when we lose these bets? Just every play that we
It's
look
always
back
one
at.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like the Vikings would have lost multiple games if Tutu had caught that. They would have lost the same number of
Well,
games.
tell him. Yeah.
Really should have he should have just caught that.
Arif is in second place with $1,028 and change. So he's in
Disgusting.
profit by a bit, and I'm just at cruising altitude right now. 1-1, one on the Browns. Thank you, Jameis. Thank you. Unwavering. What is it? Unwavering confidence, unlimited belief. I flipped
Sure.
that around.
Yeah.
I'm
We
not
can put that on a
familiar with
bumper
Jameis's
sticker.
whole
Yeah.
deal. Sure.
It's fine.
Yeah, he says that. Why not?
Whole deal.
Yeah.
Vikings were just free 3. I could have won my Addison over receptions bet too, but no. Nope.
Free
He only,
should have free 3.
only had 2 receptions. But I'm about $250 ahead of Arif, so I'm feeling pretty comfortable. Week 9 bets on Thursday. Yesterday's football, the witching hour from 2:15 to
Outstanding.
3:15
Phenomenal.
on Red Zone. Scott Hansen was losing it.
Yeah,
Like,
he almost had a
quad box
stroke. I was
Wasn't
worried.
enough.
There was like some mundane plays he couldn't bring it down, like just like he was at a 10 the whole time, and now they're gonna bring out the punting crew. Well, yeah, it's 4th and 13, dude. What? Why are you talking like that? Like, dude, tone it down.
Dude, I get it, man.
I get it too. No,
That was-
the
that was a-
ending of
that was
those
a
games,
crazy-
man. They were phenomenal.
It
Dude, the
was like-
Winston to Tillman touchdown, like
After
Scott Hansen-
Hamilton dropped the interception,
yeah,
the play before,
right, yeah, and it was great because the reporter asked Winston that after the game. He's
He
like,
really
"Hey,
should have been
so-
a Viking.
right? He could have dropped picks for us."
Yeah, what a Vikings thing to do.
Yeah, and the reporter asked like Winston about that after the game. It's like, "Hey, so your drive like nearly ended, right?" And Winston was like, "I don't know. You just got to take opportunities," which is like the right approach, but also like a very Jameis Winston. Like, yeah, who cares about that? I got touchdowns to throw.
Browns
Yeah,
ascend.
Arizona,
2-6,
Miami.
saving their season.
Arizona, Miami went down to the wire. Baltimore, Cleveland went down to the wire. Jets, New
Falcons-
England came down to the
Falcons,
last
Bucks.
play.
Packers.
Also,
Atlanta,
something
Tampa.
happened in the Washington Chicago game that seemed like people were having fun with that. And you catch that game.
I was just going through the noon slate. The noon slate first. The,
I
the
missed
Green
the
Bay
Hail Mary.
Jacksonville game came down to a last second field goal. That was kind of annoying. Antoine Winfield got screwed on the Kyle Pitts. Should have been a
Yeah, he
fumble.
did. Yeah.
That was a bummer. But yeah, after all that, what a day to go watch Chicago, Washington finish like that, man, and cap it all
Finish
off.
like
That was a
have the
great
best
Sunday.
finish of all of them.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a great Sunday.
I had
Tyreek
Red Zone
Stevenson.
on.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh my God. I had Red Zone on, but I was cooking, and I was like too stuck in that to be able to
To
like
switch
flip it
when Red
Yeah.
Zone was
when
like
Red Zone stopped covering it. But they
Yeah.
stopped covering it, and Washington was just like clearly winning, and I was like, oh whatever. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna-
they
it's fine.
gave
I'm not
you
gonna
a
go see the
short
kneel
window
downs.
to flip over. Yeah, you only had like a
And then
they
I
were, like,
finish,
lining up
and I
for
look
it.
at my phone, and people are freaking out, and I'm like, what? Wait, Washington needed a Hail Mary?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, that's okay. I was like super annoyed because I'm like watching on YouTube TV. So Red Zone clicks out, right? They're like, okay, well, we're not allowed to show when it's just one game. So I click on like the little live tab for YouTube TV, and it's usually stuff related to stuff I've historically watched or whatever I'm watching at the moment. And it's just like the game is not there in my live tab. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I keep scrolling down and I find it on Sunday Ticket. I click it on Sunday Ticket. It takes like way too long to load. And Sunday Ticket's like, oh, we can't show you this. It's on your local network. So
Out of
you should
market.
just find
Yeah,
it
yeah,
there.
yeah.
And I was like, what? And so I actually missed the part where Chicago got it back. And so I clicked just in time to see Washington's last try, which is fine, but it's like, you kind of miss an important chapter of a book, right? Like,
Right.
But it's a very annoying experience. Like I kind of wish
Also,
Sunday
the
Ticket would
play
just
call,
let you watch
Chicago
local games.
fumbling at the goal line.
Incredible! Like
that
that.
was-
So
what are
so
we
that
doing?
like obviously gets like lost in it, but that is
Yeah.
like not everything has to be an homage to the '85 Bears. Like you
Right.
don't have to have your defensive lineman run it in.
It's like
That's
not every tight
crazy.
end needs to go off and have a career day on tight end day. Like what
Okay,
is
that was
happening
very
right now?
annoying, but the
What
fact
is
that it was
happening?
like a record day for tight ends,
It was insane.
did make it funny, right? Right, like that. Like it was annoying, and I love Scott Hansen. I love him, but this knocks him from like a 100% to a 99.9%. Just stop saying it, man. Stop saying National Tight End Day.
please.
It's way too much. It's so much. And then
We got
of
it.
Course,
No, Scott,
yeah.
we got it. We got it.
And then, of course, the tight
ends
ends
parlay
just
that I
go off.
made had me feeling very happy with all that. I can't.
that's-
Yeah, no, I made a
with
tight
you.
ends parlay too, and it worked out extremely well because I had Cade Otton. I almost
Cade
picked
Otton
Brock
went
Bowers, and I decided not to, which is great because he had his it was 60.5, and he had 58, and I was like, oh, thank God.
Oh,
Yeah. But no, it went super well because like George Kittle was on it, and he had like over 100, yeah,
Dude, all of them, literally.
Yeah.
Tucker Kraft, Trey McBride, Pitts, tons of
Oh,
them. Yeah,
Trey
all of
McBride
them.
was great. His was like 54 or something like that. It closed at 58, and he got like 90 plus. Like it was
No, he
just
got
a crazy day for him.
124 yards.
Jesus,
he led
man.
the Cardinals in receiving
That's
yards.
so
yesterday.
funny.
Yeah, crazy.
Again, though, Tyreek Stevenson, the video of Stevenson.
So he's okay. Let's just do the party foul bit right now.
okay.
play
Hold
the
on.
thing.
Let me.
can we all just give him the
Yeah,
party foul?
yeah,
Just all
yeah.
four?
It's time to tell you who spilled their proverbial drink on the sofa. Get ready for this week's party foul.
Okay, so
Somebody
it's Tyreek
chat-
Stevenson.
Yeah.
Mine goes to Tyreek Stevenson.
The guy recording Tyreek Stevenson. Can you zoom in just a little bit more from the crowd there?
That was so
Kidding.
good.
Tyreek Stevenson, unbelievable, man. And we're 100% sure, now that the dust has settled, he was supposed to be the guy, like, following
I-
and shadowing
I don't
Noah
know-
Brown.
I don't
Because
know
that was
that
a
we're
big
100
thing or story, too, right?
Right. So Benjamin Solak actually has like a really great 2-3 tweet thread on this, and you know how much I hate complimenting him. But he's got a playbook about the way that defensive coordinators cover Hail Marys, and one of the defenders usually the defensive back that's like outside most, right? often the nickel, which is Tyreek Stevenson in both of these circumstances, is covering the trail player, right? Like you've got some roles here where, someone's playing up, someone's tipping, someone is, it's called the savior position in that playbook. And so you do need a defensive back in case the ball gets tipped instead of caught, which is most of the time, and Hail Marys. You do need someone kind of behind that group in order to play defense. And usually it's the defender that's Tyreek Stevenson. He, of course, was a little bit distracted. And Kevin Clark made a really funny point. So I'll just explain what happened. So as Washington is setting up to snap, he's, moving back deep, right, to get into his deep third for the Hail Mary defense. And he's taking his time and he is trash talking all kinds of Washington fans. He's just chirping at them in the stands. He's just on the field
Sam
of play,
Ekstrom at rec
yelling
basketball at the Y.
Yeah,
Just
he's waving to the bleachers, everything, right? And the play starts the ball is snapped, and he is lackadaisically walking to the end zone, chirping.
It's
right,
4
he's just
seconds.
talking to fans.
It's 4 seconds before he turns around. Yeah,
yeah, and
so
and here's the
incredible.
thing. There are Bears fans in the stands too, and they are desperately trying to get his attention and tell him that the play has started. Right? They're you can see it in the video.
My
They're
favorite
pointing.
part.
Yeah, they're pointing, and he's I've got some business to take care of, man. Did you hear what this guy says?
I'll
to
catch
me?
up with you
Right?
guys here in a sec.
Yeah, you are second on the. I'll pencil you in, right?
It worked.
And yeah, and so that's happening, and then he realizes that the play is happening, so he really quickly tries to get into the area and jump up for the ball, and he ends up jumping the highest, improbably, actually, because he's not the tallest there. He ends up jumping the highest and being the one who tipped the ball, right? He's the reason that they scored. If he had just kept trash, and this is what Kevin Clark pointed out, if he had just kept trash talking, that actually probably would have been an incompletion.
Wow. Oh, my gosh. And Jaden Daniels, he bought him plenty of time, too. He danced around. He went right.
12.7 seconds, yeah.
Is that what it was?
Incredible.
Unbelievable. Anthony Richardson needs to take a page because they were supposed to do a Hail Mary at the end, and he absolutely biffed it.
People are this is why you blitz the Hail Mary. They did send, I should say they sent 3 and a half.
Three with a spy
Yeah,
who
that
didn't
spy.
do his job. The spy totally botched it.
Yeah, which to me is not a play calling problem. I think it's fine to send forward a Hail Mary. That's not a play calling problem. That's your spy has to do a lot better than that problem.
Yeah,
That's
well, playing with 10 men, that's going to be tough. That ruins your plan. I think I've identified the key issue.
By the way, on that Colts, had the Colts converted their Hail Mary somehow, and with Richardson's arm, it could have happened. They shouldn't have had the play. Did anyone notice that?
Yeah,
The spike.
Well, I thought
that
they
they gave him the second
reviewed it
back?
and
They
said,
gave him a
"No,
second.
he's-
I don't
he's
know.
got it."
I didn't understand
know
that.
why.
It very much felt like that the clock had run out. I didn't understand
Yes.
that at all.
It's like
Yeah,
a replay assist moment, too.
I
don't know
just
if maybe they gave
assumed
him
Yeah, that's
They,
exactly what replay
double-checked
assist is
it.
for.
Yeah.
It's specifically for administrative, we got to figure out the clock to down the distance.
Right.
That's precisely what it's for. So it was very weirded out by that because it very much felt like they did not get that play off.
Right. At most, the snap got off with a 10th on the clock, but then the spike itself was late. So that was
Right.
weird. Richardson also sat out a play in the game because he was tired.
He was tired.
Yeah.
He didn't have his Uncrustables,
7-yard
man.
scramble. Yeah. Granted, he had to
He
weave
had
in and
to-
out
he had
of
to-
defenders.
He had to throw
and-
off a guy. It's tough play quarterback, you know.
Not the greatest look though either.
Okay, so the thing is,
if
if he was 40 and unathletic, I'd be a little bit more
If it was
okay.
reversed. Flacco was the runner.
Right, if Flacco was just oh, okay, look. I'd be like, yeah, no, fair.
no, I get it. I was gonna ask you, but yeah, come on out. Yeah.
But Anthony Richardson is he's the most athletic quarterback. That includes Lamar. He's the most athletic quarterback. He should be fine. A 7-second play, that should be nothing. You are not Linval Joseph returning a scoop and score for a touchdown, right? You're Anthony Richardson. Right. That's crazy. And I know pure speed is not the same as stamina, but that's crazy. And maybe what he meant to say is I got the wind knocked out of me and I needed to catch my... that would have been a maybe better thing to say, or maybe that's what he intended to say. But I got tired is the worst thing.
Yeah.
Just
You could've
lie
said
like
right.
everybody else, man.
Yeah, man.
Like,
come on.
Yeah, just lie.
Another
I had an
thing he
equipment
needs more
issue.
reps at.
yeah, I
He just
needed an
doesn't have
IV.
enough
I didn't have to
reps.
poop. Like,
He doesn't
Right,
have
yeah,
enough
yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
I'm cramping up.
my
Need an
shoelaces
Uncrustable.
came off. I had
Need
an
an
issue with
Uncrustable.
my helmet
Yeah.
radio.
Need an
Who
Uncrustable,
cares?
Blood
right.
sugar's low.
Right, you need
Yeah.
an Uncrustable.
He doesn't have enough
all
reps under
reasonable
his belt.
excuses. Right.
Of lying. He needs more reps. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, he
Sam,
needs
real quick,
to-
play the
Did you-
sound.
Ooh.
I'm on it.
Wait, is it just that Hawkinson got activated? No, he got activated already. Yeah.
The Patriots are trading pass rusher Josh Uche to the Chiefs, per rap sheet and Mike Garafolo.
Oh, Chiefs are just going to be good.
Might start to see some trades.
I mean, I guess that's one player that's not going to Detroit. Detroit is probably going to get a pass rusher.
They're going to try.
By the
So we're not
way,
going to get Hassan Reddick.
the Atlanta-Tampa game, Kirk Cousins had a 7-yard scramble where it was just funny seeing him run for his absolute life. I don't think he's had one scramble this entire season. I don't know
That
if you
game,
guys
he
saw
had
it. It was
one
rough.
scramble for -1 yards. Like, they just decided not to call it the sack. for
Arif,
whatever
you just
reason.
went in. You just went into robot mode again. This happens.
He did,
Once-
when Kirk
end of the
Cousins
episode,
gets
I don't
brought
care.
up, this is what happens.
This is like Arif needing to plug his batteries in.
This is
like
Kirk
battery
chaos.
gets low. Phew, power down. Kirk also had a 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 sneak that worked so much better than it ever did in Minnesota. But yeah, Bucks could have won that game. I was tight at the end. We're at our time. We appreciate the viewers, the listeners, the commenters. We'll be back on Thursday. We've also got the Roundtable Friday, Ron Johnson Tuesdays, and the Everydayers know we got basketball talk, Minnesota basketball party on Wednesdays now. The postcasts after the Vikings, Gophers, Timberwolves games with Luke Inman. Check out Wide Left Substack, Arif Hasan, and Locked On Vikings with Luke Braun. I'm Sam Ekstrom saying see ya. Talk to you Thursday.